what are gender theories. No? So for this particular topic, we want to clarify the framework of our understanding of this particular topic on gender theories. And the second part would be what are sociological theories that may be relevant to our understanding of gender theories. Okay? So, you know what theories are, di ba? Theories are just simply the explanation to a particular social phenomena. I've already mentioned that last time. Okay, naririnig nyo ba ako? Can you hear me? And can you understand what I am saying? Anyway, social theory focuses on the different aspects of social life. No? So we are referring to social interaction and human life and society in general. No? So these theories are composed of concepts and axioms or postulates. So these are defined here on these slides. No? So concepts, of course, you alam nyo na yan. So the elements of theories are premises, and you put them together to explain a particular social phenomenon. Yan ang theory. Okay? So how do we come about with theories? No, yung theories na nabasa ninyo came about because there were studies done on those, no? Or there's this body of literature focusing on that particular issue. Halimbawa ng theory is ano bang alam niyong theory? Darwin's theory of evolution. 'Di ba? Alam niyo 'yan. So, and why do we need theory? So that we can understand better what's happening in society. And understanding is necessary for us to improve our way of life, no? Our quality of life. Okay. In the end, that's what science is all about. To be able for us to humans to improve society. Okay. So another thing that I've already mentioned in our previous meetings is levels of analysis. So there are different levels of analysis and there are different units of analysis. When we say unit, it may be parang ano to, horizontal yung there is no sense of hierarchy, but when we say levels, there is this implication of my highest and lowest, no? And so I should have put this in this slide. So my units of analysis and levels of analysis, okay? And also dimensions of analysis, because you have political, economic, social, cultural, etc. So this should be clear to you when you start analyzing society, okay? So ano nga ulit? We have units, so levels, and then dimensions of social analysis. Okay? So, sociological theory upon which we base our understanding of gender issues in society is quite complicated. This one is, I borrowed this from one student's presentation of the mind map, no? So according to this, there are in general two groups of theory. One focuses on the macro, yung malawakan na pananaw ng lipunan, and the other one is focused on the micro. So it would focus on the individuals and the small groups. So micro yon, okay? Under each one, you find different theories, no? So, and different dimensions of society being focused on by the theory. For macro sociology, ano nakikita nyo dito? So, the theory may focus on the relationship between individuals and society, or yes, and it has two groups, 'di ba? Yung isa ang tinatawag sa mga theories na 'yan ay structuralism. And then the other one, which is micro, structuralism din siya, and then it's also known as social action theory. What else can you remember? What other theories can you remember? Because this one is not, of course, it's not all inclusive, itong diagram na ito. The second dimension is the nature of sociology. In this particular dimension, we have two types, but I would say there is a misrepresentation in this diagram, but because it does positivism does not necessarily focus on micro or macro. It may also focus on micro. Okay? Ang ibig sabihin lang ng pagkakaiba ng second dimension is siguro dapat nandito siya sa gitna, no? Anong pagkakaiba ng positivism sa phenomenology, no? What is the difference? Does anybody know? Okay. In these groups of theory, positivism merely bases its assumptions on the premise that facts about society is already fixed, no? So it's just for the students of sociology to understand, to try to study kung ano yung nandyan na. Okay? Meaning, nakafix na ang reality. The other one, yung phenomenology na sinasabi dito, or also known as constructivism, means that reality is being constructed. Okay, as members of society interact with one another, they create society. So yun yung isa. So again, I would say that these theories may not necessarily focus on the macro or micro. This has another dimension. Yung the dimension of how do we study and understand society. Okay, ulitin ko, positivism bases its assumption that facts about society has already been fixed. This second dimension, yung constructivism, holds that society is being constructed. Okay, so it's in an active, dynamic form that evolves. Okay, yan ang sinasabi ng phenomenology. And then the third one is perspective. So iba't ibang perspective yan. For macro, we have the major theories here are conflict and consensus theory. So you have your functionalism or structural functionalism, and then of course also famous for gender analysis is the conflict theory, or Marxism ang nilagay niya dito, but the proper word should have been conflict theory. Okay. May I at this point make a comment about isms, no? Kapag nabasa nyo, kapag yung ism is a suffix to a word, it implies ideology. Anong ibig sabihin ng ideology? Magkaiba yan sa philosophy at saka theory. Okay? You can interrupt me if you have any questions. The more important thing is you are listening, no? What is the there are three concepts that you have to distinguish from one another, no? Theory, philosophy, and ideology. Okay? theory is based on science. Okay, philosophy is subjective and cannot be questioned, and it would be relative to the one who is holding the theory or proposing the theory. So walang tama at mali sa philosophy. Lahat tama, no? Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, mali ka. Because that is one's philosophy. Subjective siya. But theory, you can validate through data. Okay? Because theory is a product of science. The third one is ideology. Ideology, kakaiba yan sa philosophy. Because when philosophy is used to change already what is the status quo, ang tawag na natin dyan, ideology. Naintindihan nyo ba? Naintindihan nyo? So, yung theory is academic, used in the scientific analysis, while philosophy is used to explain different groups of thought which cannot be debunked because they are subjective. The other one is ideology, na ginawa natin siyang yung statement is no longer just a philosophy or a theory, but something that is a political tool to change social condition. Okay? Dito sa kabila, sa microsociology, nilagay niya symbolic interactionism and ethno-methodology. This pertain to two groups of theories which I will discuss in my next slides. Okay. So do you have any questions so far? So this kind of presentation, mind map, may be useful, but take note of my comment on this particular presentation. So may mali doon sa number 2, yung nature of sociology, and then also tama itong sa number 3 that conflict and consensus would focus on the macro, and while symbolic interactionism and parang ethno-methodology is nasa bandang gitna, no? But symbolic interactionism is more focused on the micro, okay? So, when we talk of gender and sociological theory, there are 3 main sociological theories. These are groups of theories, no? Explaining what gender is, no? What is gender issue, and then how does it manifest in society? Okay, again, I would emphasize that theories are used to analyze society, no? This is a tool that helps us to understand what's going on in society, in this case gender issues. Okay, and what did I say last time about gender issues? May gender issue kung mayroong pagkakaiba, okay? If there is a difference or if there is inequality, okay? Between or among genders, okay? So at this point, take note, there are 3 main groups of theories relevant to the understanding of gender and society. Okay, ano nangyari? Okay. And then there's another framework that we take into account that societies may view gender differently, no? Merong mga society or merong mga societies that considers only 2 genders, yung male at saka female lang, no? And they don't accept that there is a third or fourth or other genders. Whereas there are other societies that would say there are 3 genders, no? Male, female, and the other third gender. And then some societies naman take gender as fluid. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin natin ng fluid? This is something very gender is something very dynamic and it changes so uh, rapidly. Yun ang fluid. Di ba yung fluid, hindi mo mahawakan, hindi mo ma-restrain kasi it continues to flow, no? Kaya tinawag natin siyang fluid. Parang ganun na yung understanding ng mga ibang society sa gender. And then there are still other societies that consider gender as a spectrum. Pag sinabi nating spectrum, meron pa ring hangganan yung mga categories. So an example of a spectrum is the rainbow, 'di ba? So alam mo yung understanding natin ng gender sa Pilipinas, ginagamitan natin siya ng spectrum. So we probably fall under the fourth type of society wherein we try to categorize gender based on certain fixed categories. Kapag yung number 3 na fluid, parang hindi talaga pwedeng i-categorize, no? Okay. If you have more questions on that, we will discuss that pagdating ng chapter 5 yata, yung LGBT. Okay. The first of the theories mentioned is symbolic interaction. Properly, historically, it should be structural functionalism. But I want to focus on symbolic interaction because it is focusing on micro. Okay? Dito muna tayo sa maliit. No? Okay. What is the relevance of symbolic interactionism to gender theory? No? So symbolic interactionism views society from the micro perspective. So it attempts to explain social order and change by induction. So ibig sabihin, tinitingnan mo yung maliit and then you analyze the implication of what's happening doon sa smaller dimension to the larger unit. So what is symbolic interactionism theory all about? No? So it focuses on the effects of communication and interaction of how people view change. Okay, so it addresses the meanings individuals attach to objects, events, and behaviors. Okay, nakuha nyo? I think alam nyo na to kasi kasama ito sa inyong socio-anthro subjects, di ba? Sociological, anthropological foundation of education. So the premise of symbolic interactionism, interaction theory, says that people live both in the natural and the symbolic environment. Ang ibig sabihin lang niyan, eto ako, di ba nakikita nyo ako. Siyempre kapag face-to-face, maaaring makikita nyo na matangkad ako or mabango ako or what, but that would depend on how you would define the concepts. Okay, so the theory says that society is being defined by individuals. So it is in a process of, it is an active process of construction. No? So according to symbolic interactionism, there is no fixed society because society is being constructed as the members of the society are interacting with one another. So it is in a continuous process of change actually. So do you remember yung ating yung ating diagram, no? Nandito siya sa under ng, actually we can say that it's symbolic interactionism is part of the view that society is being constructed in the minds of individual members of society. So yan. So in a way, tama yung kanyang category. sa constructivism under this diagram. So going back, we are saying that the development of the individual, since again, we are saying that symbolic interactionism is looking at the micro, diba? So society's characteristics is based on the characteristics of the individual members. And so the interest of symbolic interactionism theorists is in the individual. So this is proposed a long time ago in the 1920s by sociologists known as, whose name was, nandito siya sa sa baba, Herbert Mead, no? Okay, so maraming Herbert na sociologists, and the first one who introduced the theory of symbolic interactionism is Herbert Mead. Okay, there are two main proponents of symbolic interactionism, which you probably have encountered in your other subject in education. So according to this theory, the formation of meanings that people assign to things occurs in the mind of the individual. Okay? So, ayan. Ayan, kanyang libro. Okay. Mind, society, mind, self, and society. Okay. It's a very old book. So, the individual mind can exist only in relation to other minds with shared meanings. Okay, ang ibig sabihin niyan, society being a product of the conglomeration of the minds of its members is a product of the members, no? Paano dinefine ng mga members ang society? So the self is also a social process according to me, no? Ibig sabihin, it validates our understanding of socialization, diba? Socialization is the acquisition of culture. So the self, the concept of self is slowly defined by an individual's being able to communicate to other people. Okay? So yan siya. But there is another Herbert, and that is Herbert Bloomer, who after Herbert Mead died, introduced his work, and he was actually the one who invented the term symbolic interactionism, no? And he published his book in 1937, and a subsequent work at a later time in 1969, no? So according to Bloomer, individuals act based on the meanings they assign to things. Diba, doon kay Mead, he was simply saying that this is the individual and the self. So yun ang kanyang focus. What is the individual? How is the self defined? But si Bloomer interpreted the work of Mead and goes on further to say that individuals act based on their understanding of themselves within the context of symbolic interaction, meaning dinagdagan lang niya, no? Okay, so the meanings, so he reiterated yung assumption ni Mead that meanings are acquired through social interaction and they are subjective. Ibig sabihin, iba-iba sa bawat tao. So we might find the theory of individual differences relevant to the theory of Bloomer. So subjective understanding of the world may be the key to how we explain change, no? Kasi kung iba-iba ang interpretation natin ng society, we would act differently towards society, di ba? And that would give bring about change, okay? Kasi iba yung interpretation. So, what these two theory sociologists say is that the development of society is based on the development of the mind of the individuals composing it. Okay? So kayo, halimbawa, yung pag-unawa nyo sa gender issues sa society is slowly being formed because you're attending the classes, di ba? You're talking about it, no? It is a social process, okay? That starts in the individual. And so therefore, society changes because the minds of individuals change, okay? And there, it says that society's dynamic interpretation of society, which is subjective. So, kanya-kanya tayo ng interpretation, okay? And then we act based on our understanding of society. That will be the basis of change, which is based on each other's context. Okay? So, for example, Ryan, focused his interpretation on racial discrimination. Hindi ko lang alam kung meron kang dugong banyaga, no? Kaya ka nag-focus sa racial discrimination. Or hindi ka masyadong nag-focus sa gender kasi you don't find it relevant. Okay? So, nag-focus ka sa report mo doon sa ibang issue ng discrimination. That is fine, no? And so, based on your understanding, you might, in the future, act on your knowledge, no? So, I hope that is clear to you, no? So, itong si Bloomer, nagdagdag lang ng assumption na based on an individual's understanding, he will act definitely. So, but according to this theory, what creates society itself is people engaging in social interaction. So, social reality only exists in the context of human experience. Okay? So, yan yan. Ayan na si Herbert Bloomer. Okay. So, gender and social interaction theory holds that gender is a part of individuals' daily experiences. So, halimbawa ako, ano ang experience ko daily ng gender? That I need to wake up early and cook breakfast for my daughter and I, and feed, you do all these things in solo parent context. So, ibang context ko sa ibang nanay. Okay? So, my daily experience of gender may also have been based on my childhood experience of gender. Diba? Why did I become a gender advocate? So, mahabang kwento. That will be based on my own experience. Na in the same way, each of you will each of you has your own experience of gender. That's why if you remember, yung unang Google form exercise ninyo asked of ano o naalala ninyo, itinuro sa inyo tungkol sa gender. So that is within symbolic interaction theory. So how gender meanings are developed and reinforced in behavior. Okay. Take note that when we examine gender in this perspective, that it focuses on micro, behavior. No? So gender is a product of a person's mind, and how we act based on our interpretation of the world around us is subjective. So what is the critique of this particular theory? Since it focuses on the micro behavior of society, so it misses out on the broader pattern, yung tungkol sa macro social behavior, which is also relevant in our understanding of society. So anong lesson? Anong lesson natin? Dapat alam natin na kung ginagamit natin ng theory, we should know yung premises and its limitation. And as I said, you can use the theories that will be useful for you to understand the whole subject. Okay, so we proceed to the second theory. Medyo complicated siya, kung nakikita nyo yung diagram na yan. So, ano ba ang sinasabi ng structural functionalism? And here I listed 3 sociologies. No? So structural functionalism says that human behavior is a part of systems. And the assumption is that there are structures that keep social systems functioning and orderly. Okay? Kuha nyo. Let us dissect yung statement na yan. Society is composed of a system. A system is composed of functions. Okay? Functions that are interrelated. What is a function? A function is a group of actions focused on realizing certain objectives. Okay? Kuha nyo. Function is a group of actions focused on realizing certain objectives. So going back, society is composed of a system. A system is composed of functions socially interrelated to realize certain objectives. And according to this, the objective is to keep society functioning well and to keep it organized. Okay? So kung makikita ninyo yung diagram dito, dinisect yung society as being composed of many different elements. Okay? Okay, I will use that term element kasi nabanggit yung system, 'di ba? Pag system yan, may mga elements. Okay? Okay, and these are the ones. Okay. You can go back to this, bakit ayaw niya magano? It is supposed to, wait. No oras na. Oh, I have 3 minutes left. Okay. It won't go out. Yes.
Pwede po yung 3 minutes is for clarification na lang po sa mga mag-ulit po mag-report.
You can message me mamaya, Ryan.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
Because
you,
I want this discussion done, no? So structural functionalism focuses on structures and functions. I've already defined what structures are in society. Ito yung mga social institution, and you have known that there are 6 social institutions. Bahala na kayong i-recall kung ano yun. Pero according to structural functionalism, each structure, each institution performs a function towards attaining order or equilibrium in society. So somehow, kapag nagkakaroon ng problema yung society, it just aims for balancing different functioning of society. no? So ang criticism naman towards this particular theory is that it does not emphasize social change. So parang ang gustong sabihin ng structural functionalism, oh, ito na tayo. Okay, society is supposed to work this way. And so there are institutions, and institutions are supposed to work this way. So there is too much focus on institutions and not much emphasis is given on the role of individuals, which is also significant, no? So merong mga contribution yung individual that might change society. I will give you one individual work, no? See, what about the one who invented the internet, no? And then how about Karl Marx himself, no? So ganon. So okay, wait. So this diagram illustrate how social structural functionalism works. And there are some basic premises of the theory in this diagram, no? Ito yung sinasabi dito that institutions have two kinds of functions. These are manifest functions, or those that are obvious, or those that are assigned to the institutions. So for example, the education should take care of educating the members of society, no? And the economy should take care of balancing the resources as they meet the needs, no? Okay, but then there are also called latent functions. But the other thing is that these institutions and these functions must address the social reality which are already existing, like for example what's going on with the environment or the natural physical world, no? So this is how society is supposed to work according to structural functionalism. And it goes on to say that its society's main objective is to establish order, a well-functioning society, or a stable society. Okay? So gender and structural functionalism theory is necessary to keep society functioning in equilibrium and the so-called stability and order. Ito yung may kinalaman doon sa binabanggit ng group na dapat masculine ka or feminine ka. It has something to do yung na-mention ng group, yung kay Hofstede. It has something to do with management, no? But I will clarify what the Hofstede theory is all about later, no? But when we say prescriptive yung theory, parang nagiging ideological na siya, di ba? Meaning the theory is being used to establish order. When you can also say that there are conflicting theories like constructivism, wherein you hold that there is social change and the individual is by no means constant or fixed kasi nagbabago yung interpretation niyan. You have the other theory, yung symbolic interactionism. Okay? And gender role assignment, according to the structural functionalism theory, is given emphasis in the analysis of social order. So, ano yung pang babae, ano yung pang lalaki. But take note, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is the same for all society. So, depende. Ang mahalaga dito, alam nyo kung anong ibig sabihin ng theory na ito, no? Ano yung tool na ito and how do you use this tool? According to Talcott Parsons, he is another sociologist. There are two qualities present in the members of society. These are instrumental and expressive qualities. That are attributed to male and female. Okay? Medyo may pagka-weird yung kanyang medyo discriminatory pa nga, 'di ba? Yung instrumental, according to them, or to him, may kinalaman sa pananaw, sa trabaho. And then expressive has something to do with emotion. Okay? And according to him, expressive qualities are attributed to feminine or female members of society. And they are already given because they complement each other to contribute to social order. Okay. However, of course, Talcott Parsons lived in another time, no, in another generation wherein society was a conservative society, viewed binary type of society wherein may babae, may lalaki. Wala na yung pangatlo, no? And then also, in this context, society was more or less stable in a way that there is enough for society's needs, no? So one critic said that si Parson kasi nag-focus daw siya sa middle class American society, no, which is not necessarily the same in another society. So the critics of structural functionalism says that social change undermines the basic tenets of the theory. And then the groups that are supposed to be on deck next meeting, groups 1, 2 to 3, please study your content so that you can answer the questions. Okay?
Ma'am?
And revise your
Excuse me po.
presentation.
Okay po,
Question
ma'am.
and answer na lang tayo next meeting. And then for the groups 2 and 3, i-present nyo lang siguro 5 minutes each yung salient feature ng inyong presentation na revised. Okay? Or if you don't need to revise it, understand na lang kung ano yung pinapresent yung concept. Okay?
Ma'am, last question po.
Yes.
Di ba po magre-revise po kami ng report? So we need to change
Hindi
pa
lahat
po ba
kayo.
yung...
Wait, hindi lahat kayo.
Group na po ako, ma'am.
Oo, yun lang yung in-emphasize ko na kailangan baguhin. Okay?
Apo, ma'am. Tapos po, ma'am, about po dun sa revision po, i-revise pa rin po ba namin yung naipasa po naming video o tsaka yung PowerPoint? Or no need na po?
Well, it's up to you. It is entirely up to you. But, your grades will depend on your final output.